back in the day, back when I was but a wee lad, all they talked about was the food pyramid. Is the food pyramid still a thing?
No, it's not.
Was it ever a thing?
It should not have been a thing. And there's actually a lot of history actually behind the food pyramid of how actually the food pyramid should have been kind of flipped around. And there was a lot of financial connections that influenced that because the bottom of the food pyramid was very grain-based, so it's very cheap. So there's a lot of history behind it, but no, absolutely not. I think too, we're trying to make eating really difficult when it doesn't have to be. Something that your plate should look like, instead of making it really difficult or hard to follow rules and food pyramids, is if you maybe chance like half of this plate should be a veggie. And not a starchy veggie, either like the leafy greens or carrots, or broccoli, roasted broccoli, any type of veggie would work. And then the other fourth of your plate, so this is all veggies, the other fourth should be like a starchier veggie, like a potato, like sweet potatoes, or squashes. And you can also do, if you're okay with certain grains, like rice or legumes or quinoa, something of that nature, that should be like the other fourth. And then the other fourth of your plate should be like your protein source. And ideally, the most bioavailable, best protein source is gonna be from animals. So it's like a fish or a chicken or like a grass-fed beef steak or something of that nature. So if you really just focus on how your plate should look, you're really good to go. The starchy vegetables are more of your carb source, your animal proteins is more of your protein source, and then veggies, of course, they're a little bit of carbs. And then with cooking fat-wise, because fats are necessary, aiming to cook with maybe coconut or avocado oil is the best. And then using olive oil. I know a lot of people cook with olive oil, but olive oil shouldn't be cooked with because at a certain temperature, it can actually become carcinogenic.
What?
So olive oil should be used more so raw. So like making your homemade salad dressing, or maybe even drizzling it on top of like a finished chicken breast for some flavor. But coconut and avocado oil are going to be your best bet for cooking.
I noticed there was no pasta on that plate.
No pasta. But like I said, if you're naturally used to a grain-heavy diet, that's okay too, and you can start just maybe reducing the amount that you eat. But there's really great pastas out there that are more nutrient dense, and that can be made from lentils or chickpea pasta, which you will not even taste the difference, but it's more nutrient dense, more fiber, and it's better for you.
Yeah, but it's not like a one size fits all. We're all different, right?
Exactly. We all live different lifestyles. We all have different genetics. So everything is different. So depending, again, for your starchy, maybe you don't do good with rice. Maybe you take it out and you try to reintroduce it and you're like, wow, I felt really bad the next day. Leave it out. So it's all about kind of testing your body. But when you want to test your body, you want to give it a break for a couple weeks and then reintroduce it. That's how you know. Or you can get like a food sensitivity test that will actually tell you which foods are producing inflammation. So that's usually the more expensive route, but that's also effective if you just want to be like, no, I just want to know and I want to move on with my life and not test foods, which can be sometimes very hectic.
Is that a blood test?
It is a blood test, but that's a quick way to know which foods actually produce inflammation.
I have tried everything, all the different diets. How do I know it's good for me? What do I do?
I think it's very natural because that is what people do. So I see a lot of people that were called yo-yo dieters. They're going up and down the roller coaster. And what you can do is really focus, work with a nutritionist or work with someone, a practitioner in your area. And what you can do is you can find what foods work for you. I feel like when people diet, they're stuck in a mindset of just like, okay, I'm always dieting. This is very stressful. I just don't feel well. I'm tired of doing it. A lot of people are just so tired when they come to see me that they're like, I just want help. And so what you can do is sometimes start with maybe an elimination of maybe just focusing on just real foods. Again, what you can grow and what you can kill. And then, avoid some of the packaged processed foods, and then you can always like slowly introduce certain foods back in and be like, how does this food work for my body? Because we really need just 3 weeks of not eating, let's say, rice. And then when you introduce rice, after 3 weeks, you can eat it and you will for sure feel like, oh, that bloated me, oh, that gave me gas, oh, I had a headache. And that's kind of how you figure out, well, what foods work best for you, because everyone is so different.
So you start with 3 weeks of just what you can kill.
Yep, veggies, good animal proteins, fruits, and those are always going to be your most like anti-inflammatory foods that you can start with. And sometimes that can be a little excessive. That might seem a little scary, like, I'm coming from eating like bags of donuts, and so I mean, you can start maybe just introducing like just a veggie with every meal, whether that be carrots or something maybe that you're familiar with, or broccoli. But if you want to go all in, you can always just start, okay, I'm just going to walk the perimeter of the store.
And
produce and meats.
Where does wine fit in with that? Can I still have wine? Or if I want sugar, I have a sweet tooth and I love wine. That's 3 weeks of doing something I'm used to doing something completely different.
I will say, the first 3 days are the hardest because your body is detoxing. It's used to something very sugar heavy, maybe alcohol heavy. And so you will go through a phase where you're like, I'm not that happy. What is going on? So you do have to kind of get out of that and just know that there is the light at the end of the tunnel. But a lot of people, even within like 4 days, start feeling really great, less inflamed, less bloated. And then from that point forward, you're like, this is amazing. Like, I'm gonna keep going. So there's a little bit of motivation.
Yeah.
But again, you don't have to fully start so intense.
Right.
And if you do feel like you want to start that, work with a practitioner, because that's what we do. We make things easy for you. But again, just implement a veggie and animal protein and just make it simple.
I got some friends that cut out sugar entirely, and it's impossible. Sugar's in everything.
It
I
is.
mean, like, stuff you never would think it isn't,
Yeah.
It's in everything.
Anything packaged.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we have a high diet, high in sugar, it actually takes our testosterone and aromatizes it into estrogen. So now you're gonna have low testosterone, which we need, everyone needs, women and men, but that will affect your hormones as well.
Really? It turns testosterone into estrogen?
Yes,
That's fascinating.
Sugar.
sugar.